Welcome back, everyone. Sheepdog Smokey here, and I really don't have a topic for today, mostly because I spent all of yesterday helping a couple of cousins move some pretty hefty stuff, good 60 miles. So, we were loading for a couple of hours, driving down for a little over an hour, unloading for a couple of hours, driving back for a little over an hour, unloading one thing here, going to get dinner. So today has been pretty tiring. Before we get going, I do want to thank you guys for coming back. I know this is a longer one, and I'm not known for very long videos, but please do remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you're notified if I'm off schedule or whatnot. And you'll be entered into the drawing for, at 500 subscribers, either a copy of 1984 or a copy of Brave New World. And then at 1,000 subscribers, one of each. So again, please remember to go on and subscribe, and let's get into the rest of the video. That said, I want to keep up with the idea of a video a day. There are days where I have more than one. You saw the one just the other day where was the day I posted about Superman Red Sun, where I actually had 3 videos. And that may happen. I've seen several of the daily vloggers where they'll have something else that's not related to their daily vlog. So that may or may not happen here and there. Who knows? Today, though, while I was driving, of course, I'm in my truck. My parents are in theirs. They've got the trailer. I've got a truck bed full of stuff. And I've got my nephew with me. And he was asking, because similar to me, although to a much larger extent, he has been raised on technology. I was born 77, so, we've started off with Pong, and then ColecoVision, ultimately a Nintendo Entertainment System, which was just amazing to get, and I played Legend of Zelda and Mario Brothers for hours. But I grew with the technology. So, yes, we had computers and other things prior to 77, but they were in their infancy. And as the technology advanced, my generation advanced with them. This is very easily observed when you look at the elderly generation today. We do still have a few people from World War II era, predominantly, though, those who are now entering nursing homes and such are a lot of my parents' generation. And you can see with them, they're still watching television, old movies, westerns, musicals, and a little bit of the news, reading, playing checkers and chess and other things like that. And they're just very, very quiet, introspective, but they're living in the nursing home the way they've lived most of their lives, which was really just with television or books or very simple games. My parents, though, have joked that should they ever enter a nursing home, they're setting up Farmville and Heyday and Clash of Clans groups and playing their tablet games. My mother is very much active with games like Heyday and Farmville, and she plays the word mix-ups and those crosswords, things like that, regularly. My dad more so with Clash of Clans and things like that, where it's more strategy, but we're seeing that they are somewhat tied to technology as opposed to my generation. In another 30, 40 years, if I'm still here and I'm in a nursing home, you'll probably see me with a Nintendo Switch hooked up to a television, whereas with my nephew's generation, they'll be sitting in their wheelchairs with virtual reality headsets. But that's not a bad thing. You see, my nephew was talking about, because he is on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everything else, but being conservative, even though compared to me he's not, he sees the bias and he sees the push to silence certain viewpoints, and he doesn't like it. Much like me, he knows that censorship is not good, and that is any form of censorship. I don't count it censorship if you are screaming and ranting and waving a bat or a knife or a chair around in a restaurant and actually putting people in danger. That's different. But if you are expressing your viewpoint. You're not angry or aggressive or violent or shouting. You're simply talking. You have the right to do so. For crying out loud, the ACLU defended the Illinois Nazis as having the right to free speech. Yet we're seeing more and more. We have the Antifa cowardly thugs in masks beating people senseless for a hat that is not in any way racist. We have Twitter shadow banning conservatives where to the people posting it looks normal, but no one virtually is seeing what they post. Facebook is doing very similar things. YouTube demonetizes anyone who dares cross them. So he was talking about wanting to start something that would be similar to social media. He, like me, took to HTML programming like a duck to water. Me, in 1995, the infancy of the World Wide Web as we know it, I had creating web pages for dummies. I actually worn out 4 copies of that book. I had to find the last one on Amazon, and I got it from a guy in Canada, I think. It was already well notated, and I wore the thing out again because it's a great reference book. Those books are very well written. They're written in English that anyone can understand. And he didn't even do that. He went through W3 Schools and Code Academy, just what they have for free, and is writing his own web pages with not advanced, but definitely not just the ultra basic. I mean, my first website was to show off some photography, and it was literally just a white background with thumbnail images that you clicked to see the image. It was it. I was proud of that. But I worry, even though I know he's almost 18, he is very well grounded and he can definitely speak up for himself and he can take care of himself. I do worry with him getting as involved in things like this as he does, because like me, he doesn't make any bones about his beliefs or his stance on an issue, to the point where even at 17, he's starting to have people like report him for just calling him horrible things and spreading lies about him for saying he is conservative, and that scares the living crap out of me. For those who follow me on Twitter, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we went to MEPS in Dallas, and he was going through the whole entrance processing, getting ready to swear the oath and enter the Army Reserves as a 91 Bravo, do basic this summer, come back, finish senior year, and go next year. And his eyesight is just minimally off of their allowances, so they wouldn't take him. So he was definitely down about that. He is still considering the military, although getting the waivers is not a guarantee. Don't know why you have to have such amazing eyesight to be a 91 Bravo, which is wheeled vehicle mechanic, because, for crying out loud, you can have safety glasses built into anything these days. So, or prescriptions built into safety glasses or anything these days. But I just don't know. I mean, I've said before, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm just an uncle. I don't have kids. And I mean, at 42, single, jaded, I don't know that I ever will, but I kind of consider him a little bit mine as well, because I've helped raise him since he was a year old. I've been very involved with my parents raising him to where, I mean, I took care of him for a weekend while they'd be out of town. I would take him to the park and take him to McDonald's, take him to movies and Six Flags and so on. So I'm starting to kind of just minimally feel what I think. I mean, I'm feeling maybe 1% of what my parents were feeling back in 95 when I was pushing 18. Just gung-ho, ready to take on the world, and having to realize that the little twit won't listen to us. But it's also somewhat heartening to see that not everyone in his generation is, well, that's just the way it is. And the world owes me $20 an hour and a cushy job where I don't really have to do anything and all that. he's gung-ho, ready to take on the world and ready to put the pack on his back and march off to do it. So I was just wanting, mostly this is for me to rant, but what have you encountered on social media? If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I've been sent to Twitmo a couple of times. I actually have a shirt with the little Twitter bird behind bars and Twitmo inmate and a number on it. I've been kicked a couple of times from social media in the past. And how do you feel about that? I mean, is it worrying? Do you support it? Do you support Twitter, which has ultimately been declared a public forum? There was a Supreme Court case about privately owned or publicly owned private property. I forget the case, I would have to look it up. But ultimately it was a company, like a mining company or a refining company or something, that owned the town. I mean, they owned everything in the town to the point where your home and utilities were part of your salary. And they deemed that certain things couldn't be said anywhere in the town. And they were ultimately defeated in court to where the Supreme Court said, no, if it is public space or publicly owned private property where it's their home, even though it's part of their salary, you can't control what they say. Okay, so I couldn't stand it. I went and looked it up. It's Marsh versus Alabama. It's from 1946. It was Gulf. Chickasaw, Alabama was owned near Mobile by the Gulf Shipbuilding Corporation. Basically, they ruled that the Jehovah's Witnesses couldn't come into town and could not go to door to door in town, and they were ultimately defeated. The Supreme Court ruled with Marsh, saying that no, it's not okay to censor people. But we have people pushing for that very thing today, and it's not even the same scenario. This is literally, you're in a privately owned restaurant, and they come up and start hounding you. We've seen them, they have no qualms. They go up and they hound senators and congressmen because other senators and other congressmen egg them on. Or they find out where someone lives and they harass them in their home to the point of almost breaking in. Or you're walking along a public street and they start harassing you, or worse. I mean, I don't support a business saying, if you voted for Trump, don't come in. But if the business owner says that, I'll happily take my money elsewhere. Because that's the business owner basically saying, I don't want to make money off of you. Marcus Lemonis had a very infamous encounter with this, where it was a NASCAR driver had ordered a custom RV, but he is conservative and voted for Trump. And when Lemonis said, if you voted for Trump, I don't want your business, he said, okay, cancel my order. And if I remember right, Lemonis did not go off the deep end and scream and yell or anything. He just lost the money because he realized, he publicly said, I don't want your money if you voted for Trump. And the guy said, I voted for Trump. Give me back my money. But that's the business owner. We have people who firmly believe they have a right to harass and assault and more anyone who disagrees with them. And I'm getting ready to watch, as a young man that I have very much helped raise, enters the world as an adult, and knowing that he is conservative, even if he's not compared to me, he is conservative, and knowing what the world is like. So I'm curious what your experiences have been. I'm curious what your experiences on social media have been. I know Old Grey Wolf had said that some of the stuff that I've put out here got him banned from Facebook, and I got very close to being banned from Facebook, and I just contacted them and said, I want written proof and a written statement from you that every ounce of data connected to me has been fully deleted from your servers. And I formatted it. I found a guy that had it done by a lawyer, and he said, just sub your name for mine, and it's legal. And it's not. I mean, they can, trust me, I work IT. They can say, well, we tried, but it's the internet, man. We can't do that. Ultimately, I went through my profile manually deleting every photo, every video, every post, every repost, unfriended every single person one by one. It took me several days, and I got to the point where my login was blank. There was nothing in my feed, and I deleted my account. I ultimately came back, and I have only accepted friends that are very, very close and family, because sadly it's kind of the only way to communicate with some of them. But I'm not active. I get emails that I have a direct message, or that someone posted something about me, and I look at it, and I may comment back, but that's about it. Twitter, I'm very much active, but we're nearing the point where that won't even be possible. And what happens then when roughly half of the population is told, you may not speak? It's not going to be pretty. Honestly, not. And it's not going to be easily resolved. But the day is coming, and I'm not looking forward to it. All right, folks, I've talked long enough. You know the drill. Keep it civil. We're not here to have an argument. We're not here to insult each other and hurl accusations and names and other things at each other. We're here to talk. We can disagree civilly. Please do. As always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you're kept abreast of all new content as it posts. Also remember that the giveaway at 500 subscribers for a copy of either 1984 or Brave New World, and the next giveaway at the 1,000 subscriber mark for a copy of each. So share the videos, help expand the audience, and help expand the conversation. Until next time, everyone have a wonderful day.